That's it. You don't even get that title no more. You lost it. You're a sperm donor.
NBA YoungBoy and those around him. Beyond charts, tours, and streams, the pressure of public scrutiny on personal life is immense. For someone managing 13 children, 10 mothers, ongoing legal battles, and a complex marriage, every interaction is under a microscope. Ark Kalola's live stream, while unverified by law enforcement at the time, added a new layer of exposure. Suddenly, moments that were private, parenting decisions, domestic dynamics, and household interactions, were not only public, but dissected in real time by millions of viewers. For YoungBoy, this represents a confrontation with consequences that fame alone cannot shield him from. The story highlights the tension between public performance and private responsibility, showing that celebrity influence can amplify both admiration and accountability simultaneously. This part also examines how narrative control in the digital era has shifted. Whereas artists like YoungBoy once had the ability to frame their personal stories through selective posts or media interviews, social media empowers anyone with a camera and credibility, like Ark Kalola, to challenge that frame instantly. Viral clips, stitched compilations, and amplification from high-profile figures like Yaya Mayweather demonstrate how narratives can evolve independently of the original subject. Even if the allegations are partially unverified, the perception of accountability or failure becomes a social fact, shaping public opinion and influencing cultural conversations. For fans, this presents a paradox. Loyalty to an artist coexists with moral judgment of their personal conduct.
He thinks when I got hit in the eye, it was his his SPERM space DONOR. She's not a dad. She's just a sperm donor.
Following the initial explosion of attention, Ark's live stream pivoted from the specific incident involving her son to broader critiques of NBA YoungBoy's role as a father. She painted a picture of inconsistent engagement, asserting that many of the child visits were minimal, transactional, or staged for social media optics. In her view, his public image as a devoted father did not always align with reality. Ark described her experiences navigating the complex web of co-parenting, detailing instances where she felt left to manage responsibilities alone, from day-to-day care to emergency situations. The live stream's narrative delved into NBA YoungBoy's multifaceted life. With 13 children and 10 different mothers, his schedule, responsibilities, and availability were inevitably stretched thin. Ark leveraged this reality to argue that certain children, including her own son, were not receiving consistent attention, a claim that resonated with viewers aware of the complexities of high-profile, multi-parent households. The intensity of her delivery underscored her frustration and painted a stark contrast to the curated family image maintained by Jazz and Michelle, highlighting perceived disparities in attention, care, and involvement. Ark's presentation emphasized a history of challenges, contextualizing recent events within years of prior incidents. She referenced past interactions, communications, and documented incidents to illustrate patterns of neglect or inconsistency. These references were not presented as accusations in isolation, but as part of a larger narrative about accountability and responsibility. For audiences watching, the accumulation of these examples made her argument more compelling, forcing viewers to grapple with the complexity of co-parenting in the public eye. Social media response intensified as viewers debated the implications of Ark's claims. Comment sections, forums, and discussion threads filled with analysis, speculation, and emotional reactions. Many viewers expressed empathy for her perspective, while others questioned the veracity of her statements. The live stream became a focal point for broader conversations about celebrity culture, parenthood, and the responsibilities of public figures in managing private conflicts while maintaining a public persona. By framing the discussion around both individual incidents and systemic patterns, Ark elevated the narrative from personal grievance to a cultural touchstone. The live stream illustrated how personal stories, when presented authentically and strategically, can resonate on a global scale, influencing public perception and sparking debate beyond the immediate parties involved.
And now I'm sitting back like, damn, I can't do it all in one day, but I promise to clean whatever I can clean, but it's gonna take time.
As Ark continued, she shifted focus to Jazz and Michelle, challenging the polished public persona that had long defined YoungBoy's domestic narrative. Ark suggested that the image of the composed, untouchable wife masked a more calculated reality, asserting that Jazz was fully aware of certain dynamics and chose to remain within the situation for reasons she characterized as pragmatic rather than principled. Ark's critiques extended beyond simple allegations, instead positioning her commentary as an analysis of behavior, choices, and public versus private realities. The live stream intensified as ARC provided detailed context, weaving together incidents from the past, visual evidence, and social media documentation to illustrate her points. By presenting a structured narrative, she invited audiences to consider questions of authenticity, loyalty, and responsibility within high-profile relationships. This approach resonated with viewers who were familiar with YoungBoy's history, offering a lens through which to interpret previously opaque interactions between family members, co-parents, and the public persona crafted over years of media scrutiny. ARC's commentary emphasized the consequences of public perception. While Jazin's image had long been positioned as a stabilizing force in YoungBoy's life, ARC's livestream questioned whether that stability was genuine or performative. Social media engagement reflected the impact of this reframing as viewers debated the alignment between public image and private reality. The combination of emotional authenticity, meticulous framing, and high-profile relevance elevated the livestream to a cultural moment, sparking discourse across digital platforms. The narrative also drew attention to the cumulative effects of high-profile scrutiny. With multiple children, extensive media coverage, and ongoing legal and personal challenges, YoungBoy's public persona and family life were constantly under examination. ARC's livestream highlighted how these pressures intersected, revealing tensions, conflicts, and the challenges of maintaining a coherent narrative in a complex, highly visible environment. By focusing on both individual incidents and broader patterns, ARC created a multifaceted account that transcended gossip, emphasizing accountability, transparency, and the complexities of navigating private challenges in a public context. The live stream demonstrated the power of first-person narrative, showing how an individual voice, when delivered with clarity and intensity, can shape discourse and influence public perception.
Man, I feel very wrong about a lot of things. How many lives I actually am responsible for when it comes to my music.
By the time ARC Kalola's live stream reached its peak intensity, the allegations she laid out had begun to ripple across the entire narrative surrounding NBA YoungBoy. One of the most significant aspects of her story was the framing of her son Kale's injury, a mark on his hand she claimed was mishandled and misrepresented. While she clearly presented this as her personal perspective, she meticulously contrasted it with the explanations she received from NBA YoungBoy's camp. She questioned why no medical follow-up occurred, why no vaccination or precautionary measures were taken, and why the response seemed dismissive. For viewers watching live, the details were alarming. The intensity of her presentation drew attention not only to the incident itself, but also to larger questions about parenting, responsibility, and accountability in households with complex family dynamics. ARC emphasized that the alleged incident was only part of a broader pattern of behavior. Her narrative suggested that NBA YoungBoy's engagement with his children had been inconsistent, with visits often framed around appearances or public perception rather than genuine day-to-day care. She described situations where she felt forced to manage responsibilities largely on her own, raising her son while navigating the complexities of co-parenting alongside a global music career and the layers of social media scrutiny that come with it. The live format made these grievances even more compelling, as viewers could see the immediacy of her emotions, the sincerity in her voice, and the raw intensity of her delivery. The livestream also highlighted a tension between perception and reality. NBA YoungBoy's wife, Jazin Michelle, has long cultivated a public image of composure, loyalty, and unwavering support. ARC positioned this image as carefully curated, suggesting that it masked a reality she believed was far more complex and, at times, troubling. This perspective created a contrast between the pristine public persona and the lived experience that ARC described, encouraging audiences to question how much of what they see online reflects the truth versus a carefully maintained narrative. Social media erupted in response. Clips of ARC's livestream spread rapidly, gaining traction on platforms like X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Analysts, fans, and critics dissected her every word, scrutinizing the timeline of events and piecing together context from past interactions. The combination of her emotional authenticity, her visual evidence, and the high-profile nature of the people involved turned the livestream into a viral cultural moment. It was no longer just a personal grievance. It had become a lens through which audiences examined family, accountability, and public perception in celebrity life. Ultimately, Part 6 emphasized the weight of public scrutiny. Even without official investigations or police reports, ARC's allegations sparked intense debate, highlighting the challenges that arise when private conflicts intersect with public visibility. The livestream served as a reminder of the power of digital media to amplify voices, shape narratives, and influence perceptions, especially in high-stakes situations involving celebrity figures and sensitive family matters.
I could see the brown at the top. That is a burn. And let KL tell it.
As the live stream unfolded, it became increasingly clear that ARK's intent was not merely to air grievances, but to challenge narratives that had dominated NBA YoungBoy's public image for years. She scrutinized both the public perception of the rapper as a devoted father and the image of Jazz and Michelle as a composed, loyal partner. By juxtaposing her own lived experience with curated social media portrayals, ARK invited audiences to reconsider assumptions about family, responsibility, and authenticity in celebrity life. Social media users responded with immediacy, creating a feedback loop that amplified the live stream's impact. Clips, compilations, and analyses proliferated across platforms, fueling debates about the nature of co-parenting, accountability, and the responsibilities of public figures. This digital amplification transformed what could have been a personal confrontation into a viral cultural phenomenon, sparking discussions far beyond the immediate context of the live stream. ARK's analysis also included historical context, referencing previous incidents involving NBA YoungBoy and other co-parents. By connecting past events to present allegations, she framed her narrative as a continuity of observed behavior rather than isolated grievances. This perspective lent weight to her claims and encouraged audiences to consider the broader implications of her narrative for understanding YoungBoy's approach to parenting, relationships, and public image management. The live stream's intensity was heightened by ARK's delivery. Her tone, pacing, and emotional clarity conveyed a sense of urgency and authenticity, drawing viewers into the narrative and compelling them to consider her perspective seriously. Social media engagement reflected this, with audiences discussing the live stream's content in real time, dissecting visual evidence, and analyzing both the claims and the broader implications for public perception. By the time ARK concluded, the live stream had evolved into more than a personal account. It had become a commentary on public image, family dynamics, and accountability. Her narrative highlighted the ways in which private realities intersect with public perception, emphasizing the complexities of navigating high-profile relationships under constant scrutiny. The live stream served as both a revelation and a challenge, prompting audiences to reflect on the intersection of personal experience and media representation in contemporary celebrity culture.
You got some nerve to lie to me about my kid. That's why them be your husband down.
One of the most striking elements of ARK's livestream was her focus on concrete consequences. She highlighted the upcoming child support court date scheduled for June 26, 2026, framing it not as a threat but as a factual, unavoidable event. By grounding her narrative in official actions, she reinforced the seriousness of her allegations and underscored the tangible impact of the issues she raised. The court date transformed the livestream from a viral spectacle into a legally consequential matter, signaling that her concerns were entering formal channels beyond social media. The livestream also explored the broader implications for NBA YoungBoy's public narrative. For years, his image had been shaped by extraordinary success in music, legal battles, and a complex personal life. ARK's allegations introduced a new dimension to this narrative, a scrutiny of family dynamics and parenting responsibilities that went beyond prior controversies. Her commentary reframed public understanding of YoungBoy's personal life, challenging audiences to reconcile his professional accomplishments with the allegations she presented. ARK emphasized that her goal was accountability and transparency rather than sensationalism. By presenting her grievances systematically and supporting them with evidence, she positioned herself as a credible voice in a narrative dominated by celebrity, media management, and public relations. The live stream, therefore, became a vehicle not just for personal expression, but for influencing discourse around parenting, responsibility, and ethical behavior in high-profile contexts. The response was immediate and widespread. Social media platforms lit up with reactions, analyses, and debates. Fans, critics, and commentators dissected every detail, from the visual evidence she presented to the historical context she provided. The livestream became a cultural touchstone, highlighting the ways in which digital media can amplify personal narratives and shape public perception. Ultimately, Part 10 emphasized the intersection of personal experience, legal action, and public scrutiny. ARK's livestream demonstrated how a first-person narrative, delivered with authenticity and supported by evidence, can challenge established perceptions, influence discourse, and elevate personal grievances into matters of broader societal interest. It underscored the power of digital platforms to transform individual stories into viral phenomena with tangible consequences for high-profile figures.
The fuck, bitch? You purposely burnt my baby.
NBA YoungBoy rarely highlighted his moments of self-reflection and the rare glimpses of vulnerability that have emerged over his turbulent life. Despite a career defined by controversy, legal battles, and high-profile drama, YoungBoy has periodically shown a capacity for introspection that contrasts sharply with the public perception of him as solely a relentless, sometimes reckless artist. This side of him becomes particularly important when contextualizing Ark Kalola's live stream, as it underscores a man who has spent his entire adult life navigating both external pressures and the internal consequences of his choices. In interviews and social media posts, YoungBoy has occasionally reflected on the cost of his lifestyle and the toll that constant scrutiny has taken on his mental health, family life, and creative output. In one particularly striking moment, he acknowledged that his decisions, particularly regarding relationships and co-parenting, had real impacts beyond the music. For a public figure whose persona has often been framed around resilience, toughness, and relentless work ethic, these reflections are notable. They offer audiences a window into the emotional complexities that exist behind the records, tours, and viral moments. Ark's allegations hit harder in this context. They didn't merely expose a single incident or challenge one public narrative. They collided with the very part of YoungBoy's life he's been quietly processing. His reputation as a devoted father and husband, carefully maintained by social media and selective public statements, faced scrutiny at a time when he was attempting to recalibrate his life post-house arrest and post-presidential pardon. The live stream and the surrounding reactions created a juxtaposition. On one hand, a man striving to reconcile past actions with personal growth. On the other, a public airing of grievances that cast long shadows over family dynamics he may have been attempting to stabilize. Additionally, this part of the story emphasizes the human side of celebrity, highlighting the pressure of maintaining an image while managing a large, complex family structure. With 13 children and 10 different mothers, every interaction, every court date, every social media post carries multiple layers of meaning. Ark's live streaming of grievances forced YoungBoy into a position where personal accountability and public perception intersected in unprecedented ways. It's not merely about damage to career metrics, it's about reputational shifts, the lens through which millions interpret family responsibility, and the potential consequences on future interactions with his children. What makes this part of the narrative especially compelling is how it reframes YoungBoy's past controversies. Viewers are reminded that previous legal issues, arrests, and public confrontations were always mediated through the lens of survival, perseverance, and the pursuit of musical dominance. Yet, the current situation introduces a variable that isn't about resilience. It's about scrutiny in the realm of moral responsibility, parenting, and intimate relationships. It's a different arena entirely, one that challenges his ability to control the narrative. Ark's live stream, paired with the historical context of YoungBoy's reflections, illustrates a man navigating complex pressures that extend far beyond fame or artistic output. In essence, Part 11 highlights the nuanced human dimension of NBA YoungBoy. It underscores that beyond the records, the tours, and the viral moments, there exists a person confronting the weight of past decisions, accountability, and family responsibilities. The contrast between his past public persona and his emerging self-reflective side adds layers of depth to the ongoing saga, making Ark Kalola's live stream all the more impactful, both in terms of public perception and personal stakes.
How many kids and people have gotten in the car or put this in their ears and actually went hurts them?
The social media reaction to Ark's live stream was immediate and widespread. Every platform seemed to be discussing the content, analyzing her claims, and debating their implications. Fans dissected the live stream frame by frame, discussing her delivery, her visual evidence, and her framing of events. Comment sections were flooded with differing perspectives, some expressing sympathy, others questioning the accuracy of her statements, and many simply reacting to the intensity of the moment. The live stream also prompted responses from other key figures within NBA YoungBoy's orbit. Individuals connected to the family, whether directly or indirectly, began commenting, reposting, and framing the narrative through their own perspectives. This created a complex web of responses, each contributing to the evolving public perception of the situation. The virality of the live stream underscored how quickly information, claims, and allegations can spread in the modern digital ecosystem, particularly when they involve high-profile personalities. Ark's narrative prompted broader discussions about parenting, accountability, and the ethics of public scrutiny. Viewers were encouraged to consider the responsibilities of parents, the complexities of co-parenting multiple children across different households, and the ways in which public figures navigate personal challenges under intense scrutiny. While some focused on the emotional drama, others analyzed the underlying issues of consistency, responsibility, and transparency that the live stream brought to light. By positioning herself as a central voice in this ongoing saga, Ark transformed the conversation from private grievances into a public dialogue with cultural resonance. Her approach, combining personal narrative, detailed examples, and visual evidence, created a compelling story that captivated audiences and sparked debates that extended far beyond the immediate context of her claims.
Mom stopped the car when you was 13 and turned around and spit on you. I probably would have did the same thing.
NBA YoungBoy's universe and how it exposes the fragile equilibrium between his personal and public life. While his career achievements, record-breaking Billboard entries, sold-out tours, billions of streams remain unchallenged in commercial terms, the personal narrative surrounding him has entered uncharted territory. ARK's public airing of grievances forced a scrutiny of YoungBoy as a father, husband, and man, rather than just a musical phenomenon. The live stream brought to the surface years of accumulated tension between YoungBoy, his wives, and baby mamas, making what was previously behind-the-scenes drama into a public spectacle. Every social media post, comment, and news story now carries the weight of parental accountability and domestic perception. This part also emphasizes how public perception and private reality collide in the digital age. While YoungBoy's music remains untouchable by conventional controversy, his identity as a responsible father and spouse is suddenly under examination by millions of people who never had the full context of his family dynamics. ARK's unfiltered presentation, comparing Kale's injury to a dog bite, challenging explanations, and highlighting the inconsistencies she observed, resonated deeply with audiences because it tapped into universal concerns about child welfare, trust, and responsibility. For fans who had previously seen him as a resilient, untouchable figure navigating life's chaos with artistry as a shield, this was a more complicated story. It was no longer just about talent surviving adversity, it was about accountability surviving scrutiny. Furthermore, Part 13 examines how other players in YoungBoy's orbit amplified the narrative. Yaya Mayweather's endorsement of ARK's posts brought historical context and credibility to the claims, while Jazen's extended family attempted to defend her, escalating a multi-layered social media battle. With screenshots, counterclaims, and resurfacing stories like the 7TV allegations from 2024, the timeline became a live archive of complex interpersonal drama. It wasn't just gossip, it was a real-time examination of power, influence, and perception in celebrity culture. Each participant, whether mother, sister, or public figure, contributed to the multi-dimensional portrait of a family under pressure, magnifying the stakes beyond what any single livestream could achieve. Finally, this part reflects on how the legal system now intersects with social media narratives. The upcoming court date for child support transforms the livestream from mere spectacle into actionable reality. A scheduled hearing, backed by legal documentation, introduces a structured forum where claims will be formally assessed. Unlike rumors or viral posts, court proceedings are official, enduring, and public. They will force YoungBoy, his legal team, and the public to confront the specifics of his parental responsibilities and financial obligations. The stakes are now as much about legacy, credibility, and social perception as they are about legal compliance. This convergence of celebrity culture, digital virality, and legal accountability illustrates the new paradigm for public figures navigating personal controversy in the 21st century.
That's it. You don't even get that title no more. You lost it. You're a sperm donor.
From the very first moment, ARK didn't hesitate. She opened the live stream with a direct, unapologetic approach, immediately signaling to viewers that this wasn't a performance or a bid for attention. It was the release of long-suppressed frustration. The energy in the room, captured through the lens of her phone camera, was palpable. Every sentence was charged with emotion, and millions instantly recognized the gravity of what she was saying. ARK described patterns of behavior she observed over the years, pointing out inconsistencies in the public image maintained by Jazen Michelle and highlighting moments where she felt NBA YoungBoy's attention and care were lacking. ARK's presentation included meticulous comparisons, references to past interactions, and details that gave context to her grievances. She framed her narrative around specific events, but she also contextualized them as part of a broader pattern. This was not about gossip, it was about a system of behavior she had witnessed firsthand and felt compelled to expose. Social media responded immediately. Clips were shared, reactions poured in, and debates ignited across platforms. Viewers were forced to confront the contrast between the image of stability and the allegations of neglect or mismanagement she raised. Importantly, ARK didn't shy away from questioning explanations that had been given to her regarding incidents involving her son. She scrutinized responses she received and offered visual comparisons to strengthen her argument. Every element of her presentation was deliberate, illustrating that this was the culmination of long-term observation and concern rather than a spur-of-the-moment outburst. As she detailed her points, viewers were captivated by the clarity of her message and the intensity of her delivery. The livestream quickly became a touchstone for discussions about accountability, parenthood, and celebrity culture. This moment also highlighted the challenges of public perception in the digital age. NBA YoungBoy's fanbase, known for their loyalty and deep connection to his music, was suddenly confronted with personal allegations that went beyond music, legal troubles, or previously documented controversies. The narrative shifted from charts and records to questions of parenting, personal responsibility, and ethical conduct. ARK's livestream did not only shine a light on specific grievances, it reframed how audiences were thinking about NBA YoungBoy's personal life, his relationships, and the narratives surrounding his family. The livestream also drew attention to the complex dynamics between NBA YoungBoy, Jason Michelle, and other mothers of his children. While Jason maintained a composed public persona, ARK positioned herself as someone whose voice had long been unheard, someone whose lived experiences were now being broadcast to millions. Her careful articulation, backed by personal anecdotes and a visible sense of urgency, amplified the perceived legitimacy of her claims, whether or not they were verified by external authorities. As the livestream unfolded, the reaction was immediate and multifaceted. Social media platforms filled with commentary, speculation, and intense debate. Fans analyzed every frame, every word, and every implication. Analysts, creators, and journalists began connecting the dots, situating the livestream within the broader context of NBA YoungBoy's complex personal history, including previous controversies, legal issues, and documented interactions with co-parents. ARK's livestream was more than just a personal statement. It became a viral, cultural moment that reshaped the conversation about one of the most influential rappers of his generation.